Now, there's probably at least a few of you guys who've been contemplating wanting to put a 6-speed gear set in your 5-speed transmission cases and add another gear. And if that's you, then you probably have all the same questions about it that I did probably 180,000 miles ago. It's got to be at least that, when I put this Baker DD6 into this bike. And all my questions are now answered. They had to be answered by trial and error because I couldn't find the good information. And so in this video, I'm going to show you what I've learned personally, what I know about it, and how the questions have been answered for me, what I would do again, what I wouldn't do again, all of that stuff. But before I get into that, there in the last video, there was a good handful of guys that asked me, how do you know when your compensator is going bad? Because that last video had a lot of compensator stuff in it. And so I want to answer that question. I said I would. And first off, when it's really bad, I hear a lot of knocking in my primary at idle, especially at idle. Starts knocking around. But that's when the spring in it, when the whole thing's pretty well shot. Otherwise, you can tell by taking the clutch and twisting it and looking at it. And I'm going to show you in this video right here, before I change the spring and after I change the spring. You have to have the primary cover off to do that. Let's take a look at it. When all this stuff's tight, this sprocket will move with everything else. You see the way it's... See that? Okay. One more. I'll take the best one. See that? Okay. It's not supposed to do that when it's all good. Jim, try to move it. See the way it all moves together? There's no little bit of movement. Everything's moving together. That's all working. Well, it's all new parts. That's what it's supposed to be doing. Now, of course, you have to have your primary cover off in order to do that. You can actually do it by hand, grab the clutch and start twisting. Well, if it's really bad, you can see it. But another way you can do it is if your bike's old enough to have a trap door in the primary cover, you can just open up take the little trap door off, 4 little bolts, and stick a screwdriver in there and see if you can move that front compensator sprocket. If it moves separate from everything else, then your compensator's starting to get weak. That don't necessarily mean it's shot, at least not in the case of mine, but that means it's starting to go. It's not doing it like it should anymore. Now, I'm going to get into 6-speed transmissions, and before I tell you about my experience with them, I want to talk a little bit about what's the difference between a direct drive 6-speed and an overdrive 6-speed, okay? Now, everything Harley makes, has ever made that I know of, the 4-speed, the 5-speed, the 6-speed, all have the same ratio top gear, and I'm going to show you why that is. Take a look at this picture right here. Okay, now the power is coming from the motor and going ultimately to that shaft in the back that goes into the transmission. Once it goes in there, it's run through different gears and it comes back out and it turns the front belt pulley, which ultimately goes to the back wheel, of course, where the belt goes. Now, to understand the ratios, let's just take a first gear, which I think is like a 324. I'm not sure about that, but we'll just go with that, right? Okay, what that means is that shaft going into the transmission is going to turn around 3 24/100, or let's just say 3 1/4 times for every time that the front belt pulley goes around once. I think first gear is about like that. And then as you change into other gears, it changes that ratio and you have different gears. So the power goes in through the transmission, turns around, comes back out into the front pulley. Now, but the top gears aren't like that. For top gear, instead of running the power into the transmission, they call them dogs. They got a piece in the back inside of the transmission that just fits in and locks those two together. So what happens is the pulley, the front pulley, and the shaft going into it turn at the same speed. That's a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, now that's a good system because it saves 2 gears in the transmission, which is good for everybody. It's good for us, it's good for them, it's a win-win for everybody. Also, they say that because you're no longer running the power through the transmission, you gain a little horsepower. I doubt you can notice it, but that's what they claim. In any way you look at it, it's a good system. So that's why the 4, 5, and 6 speed all have the same top gear. And that's what a direct drive means. It means those two turn at the same time in the top gear, or whatever gear they're using it in, generally the top gear. So in order to put the 6th gear in there, they've got to raise it somewhere else. So what they do is they put a bigger compensator sprocket in the front compensator in the primary. Okay, and if you look at the 6 speeds, you'll see that the front of the primary is considerably bigger than on the older ones because they put a bigger sprocket in there. Now the overdrive units work a little differently. They have another gear in there that actually turns the front pulley faster than the shaft, so you don't have to change anything in the primary. Okay, but I'm not sure how that works, but I do know that I've seen inside of 1 or 2 of them, and what they tend to do is have a couple of extra gears stuck in the trap door. Now, that has a habit of making the trap door on the other side of the transmission a bit bigger, which sometimes gets in the way of the exhaust pipe or something else. So let's take a look at these 3 pictures I've got here. First, we'll have a look at just a regular 5-speed trap door. It's about 1 inch in width. Then let's take a look at the one on my Baker 6-speed. It's about 1 inch in width. Now let's have a look at the one on this Ultima. It's about 1 1/4 inch. It's a little bigger. May cause problems. In the case of this one, you can see that there's an oil line that they couldn't fit anymore, and they had to reroute it somewhere else. So some of you guys who mess with this stuff already know that generally when you make one modification, it causes 2 more problems that you got to solve. And obviously that's what happened here. So in any case, I don't know about the overdrive units. Baker makes a direct drive and an overdrive unit. I don't know about the cheaper transmissions because I've never had one. There's a few companies makes them, namely Ultima. You can get one of them for pretty cheap. I've looked in them before, just seen them with the top off, and there's things in there I don't like what I see. Some guys say they've worked fine for them. Other guys say there's been trouble. They miss gears, neutrals in the wrong place. You know, that stuff's all made in China. I've had Ultima shit before. It always says made in China on the box. At least the stuff I've had. Whatever. But I was going to put a lot of miles on it. So I made a deal with Baker. I got some money off on the one I got. They're really, really proud of their stuff, but I really wanted to try one. So I put it in here. Now Baker's direct drive transmission comes with a front sprocket, compensator sprocket, that has 4 extra teeth on it. That's how they make the 6th gear. And the first 5 gears remain stock. They're the same as they were with 1 extra gear. And that's what I got, and that's what I put in, and I personally wouldn't do that again. There's a couple of problems I had with it. One is that with that system in there, I was turning 3,000 RPM at 80. Now, the high speeds is where engines need more power because it's the same thing as a 10-speed bicycle. When you put it into 10th gear, it's hard to turn the pedals, and it's the same for the motor. So when you go to them higher gears, so 3,000 RPM on my little Evo here was not good. So you think, oh, idling down the freeway would be nice. But what it was like is it's like you're going down the freeway, you're going, whoa, and you turn the gas, it goes, whoa, whoa. There's not enough fucking power to pull it. And it ain't good for the motor, and it ain't good for me. And what happened with the way it originally was I was getting tickets. I would find myself doing 85 and 90 because that's where my little motor was more comfortable at. Now, you may have a bigger motor. It may not mind doing 3,000 RPM at 80, but you know, I had a S&S V111 111-inch engine in this thing for a while. And it didn't like doing 3,000 at 80. It wanted to be revved up a little bit higher. It didn't like it either at 111 inches. So you may be able to pull it, but my stuff has never liked it. So what I ultimately did was I was in there doing something else, and I took a tooth off the front pulley, belt pulley. Now, I've talked about this before. I've changed belt pulley sizes. They come with a 32 tooth pulley stock, but you can get pulleys with 1 to 2 more teeth extra and 1 to 2 more teeth less. So what I did with this one was I took 1 tooth off it. For every tooth you change it, it changes the top speed. It has, every time I've done it, about 4 to 5 miles an hour. So what happens now is I'm doing 3,000 or 3,100 RPM at 75. The bike don't mind that. First off, it has more power because it's a lower gear. And second off, it's being revved up a little higher where it needs power to pull that high gear. You got to have a lot of power to pull higher gears. That's why everything at Bonneville has such extreme amounts of power. Everything they run out there at the salt flats to set the speed records, because they have such high gears to get those high speeds. So that was the problem I had with it. When I took the tooth off, that made it to where I can use it. So the other problem I had, the main problem I've had with putting that Baker system in there with 4 extra teeth on that front compensator sprocket, was that it's not made to be in there. There's not enough room. And so the chain, as long as it's in spec, but a little on the loose side, it tinks against the inside of the fucking primary cover. It's doing that shit now. It's making a bunch of noise, and I can't tighten it up. I tried the other day to tighten it up, and I can't, because that puts it to just under a 1/4 inch of play. The play is supposed to be 5/8 to 7/8 by the book, and that's just over 1/2 inch to just under 1 inch by the book. Okay, and I can't tighten it a notch, so I've got to listen to it clink. And primary chains don't need to be adjusted very often. I got to listen to it for a long time. Then once I could finally click it up, it'll all work like it's real nice. Now I'm told, I don't know because I haven't looked it up, is that Baker makes a system, a primary chain adjuster, that is a 1/2 click. The ones on the big bikes, on the Sportsters is different, but on the big twins, they move in clicks. And if I click it up 1 click, it's too tight, and I click it down 2, it's not too tight for the stock system, but for this bigger system in there, it is. And it clicks, and it's fucking irritating. Now, I would put a 1/2 click system, if they make one, I'm told they do. I would have put that in, but it didn't come with the kit I bought. I should have put it in. But if I had it to do all over again, I wouldn't use that system anyway. I would get the gear set. I want to say that Baker's transmission has been excellent. It shifts wonderfully. It's worked pretty much flawless. It's never given me any trouble. So that's been a really good transmission. It's really well made. I saw that when I took it out of the box. Just for a second, I want to throw in here that this is the reason that a lot of, at least the older twin cams with the automatic chain adjuster, I don't know about the new stuff because I don't keep up on anything Harley's doing anymore. But at least some of the earlier ones, they came out in 07 with automatic primary chain tensioners. Those things tighten the chain as tight as it will go. And when I was a 12-year-old adjusting the chain on my dirt bikes, I knew you couldn't tighten the chain as tight as it will go and not expect things to break. I don't know how that got by the designers. Okay, and so if you have that, that means that on your primary cover, you don't have an inspection plate to get in there to tighten up the chain. I'm just throwing this in here, you guys. So that thing doesn't seem to break, but what it does is it breaks everything else. I've seen guys take out the bearing in the left side of the transmission, which is a little weak on those 6 speeds. I've seen it. I've seen them actually in the shop, right? Rip the fucking splines on the clutch off, because you can't, chains get tighter when they get hot, and they also get tight in loose spots, and that automatic adjuster adjusts it up as tight as it will go and then locks it there. You can't do that and not expect shit to break. Also, it messes up compensators. Now, I've heard there's more problems with these new compensators. They're a bit different than mine. I don't know about that, but everybody I know, or most of the guys I know who've put high mileage on a twin cam with one of those in it, has taken it out and switched it back to a manual adjust. I think Screaming Eagle has one. I think Harley has one. And Baker makes one too. Real proud of their stuff, they are. There's also Hayden makes one, but it's kind of a chinky deal, and it's, you know, I had one a long time ago. I didn't care for it, but it worked. So there's a few choices in how to put the slack back in the chain. And if you're going to run one of those things into high miles, I had a friend, man, he had 85,000 miles on an 08 bagger, and he told me, he said, I'm getting rid of this bike. And I said, why? He said, because it keeps breaking. And I said, really? He said, yeah, and it's not just that it keeps breaking, it's the same stuff keeps breaking over and over again. I told him, I said, he's going to trade it in on a Kawasaki. I said, is it in the primary? He said, yeah, how'd you know? I told him about this. He changed that thing out. He actually put in one of Hayden's things, and he kept it till it had 145,000 on it and then traded it in. So that's something to know for you guys who have that in there, who are putting a lot of miles. Maybe you haven't had problems with yours. Maybe you have. I'm telling you guys what I know. As always, if you ask 4 different mechanics the same question, you'll get 4 different answers. So I'm giving you what I know. What you know may be different. If I was going to do this whole thing over again, what I would do is I would put everything that goes in the transmission in it, leave the primary completely stock, and I would just go in and change the front pulley. An average 5-speed's doing like 3,000, 3,100 RPM at around 70, right? So this means you're going to bang it up to about 75 if you put one tooth on there, right? At 3,000, 3,100 RPM. If you go 2, you're going to be pretty much 2 extra teeth. You're going to be pretty much up around what it is with Baker's system in here, which is 3,000 RPM at 80. If you want to be doing speeds of 85 and 95, that's the way to go. But I don't want to. I'm looking for speeds mostly of 75, comfortable 75 and 80. When you start getting up 85 and 90, first cop sees you is going to hit you. It's not really usable speed in the actual world, as far as I can tell, right? So I don't want that. So what I would do is put one more tooth on the front pulley. You don't even have to change the belt drive, but it is a pain in the ass to change the pulley. But all you got to do is slide the wheel forward a little bit because it's a bigger pulley. I've been able to do that. I was able to put 2 more teeth on my last bike. That's a different story, but I added 2 teeth to the front pulley. You can do this with just your 5-speed and bring your top speed up 5 miles an hour, 4 to 5, but you're also going to have all your other gears are going to be higher too. With that being said, with an overdrive unit, I guess you could put 1 tooth less on there. I don't know. I've never had one, and I don't think I'm gonna. So do I like it? Yes. Do I use it? Am I able to use it? Yes, I use it a lot. Surprisingly, even with a little power that the Evo puts out, we all know they're a little gutless, right? I'm able to use it most of the time. If I get a heavy wind or I'm climbing a mountain, sometimes in the altitude I lose some power because I'm carbureted, but it's still been surprising how often I can use it. So for my uses, yes, I like it a lot. I use it all the time. It also, what it did was taking 1 tooth off the front pulley, brought my other 5 gears down just a little bit, but it's not that noticeable. 5 still easily usable, and I like a low first gear. Now I've heard a lot of guys tell me, I don't like this first gear, it's too low. By the time I get to the other side of the street, before I even go under the stoplight, I'm shifting into second gear. I've heard that a lot, but that is not my sentiment. If you've ever had a really low first gear, my 1988 Electric Glide came with a first gear like a granny gear. It's the way they built them back then. I'm not going to get into it. It's not like that anymore. And what a low first gear does is it makes it extremely easy to maneuver a big, heavy bike in tight spaces like in a crowded parking lot. The bike just, or in the places that I'm always stuffing my stuff where I make my camps at, the bike just walks through there. It's so much easier than feathering the clutch. So it brought it down a little bit, changing that tooth, but not a seriously noticeable amount. I'd like to have it actually lower. With it the way it's set up now, I'm able to use it. It likes 75, it likes 80, but it doesn't mind 75, which is mostly what I use it at. Also in traffic that's speeding up and slowing down, I'm able to use it right down to 65 and then speed back up just on the freeway kind of thing, right? And what I have now is I have 2 highway gears, so I can always go back down to 5th gear. So do I like it? Yes. Doesn't work? Yes, it does. Not the way it came, but being geared down a little lower, it works very well for me. Would I do it again? I actually don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've got that red bike and I don't have any plans of putting a 6-speed in it because in all honesty, the 5-speeds by itself is pretty good, right? Even though it's clunky, them older 5-speeds are clunky compared to this. This thing's fucking tight. But it's really good up to 75 miles an hour and even 80. And the way that the bikes are set up when they're stock, at least on the Evos, my other bike's bone stock, they're designed to run between 2,000 and 4,000 RPM. That's where it's comfortable at. It likes it. That's the way the factory built it. And, you know, I think that one of the things that makes it irritating at the higher RPMs is loud pipes. So I really do like the 6-speed, but I don't know that I would do it again for the expense. It's worked really well for me. I always wanted to try one. And what I will do next time is ride the 5-speed and decide after a while. That bike's got stock pipes on it, and I'm not going to put anything loud on it. You're going to find, you guys, that serious tourers, people that seriously travel, don't want a loud bike. They might want a little sound, but you're gonna be hard pressed to ever find. It's like taking your muffler off of your car before you cross the fucking country, man. It gets to you after a while. And I'm old, right? So that's my excuse. But so I'm going to leave the 5-speed on there on the other bike and ride it. And if I decide that I really would like to do a 6 again, I will do it. But I'll do it exactly like I told you. Putting in a bigger front pulley is not Mickey Mouse. Not at all. Anyways, in conclusion, is a 6-speed worth it or not? I guess it's a matter of how often you travel or how fast you want to go, man. Because it's a nice idea in theory to have your bike idle down the freeway. In actual practice, it don't work. Maybe on a Milwaukee 8, something with superpower, I don't know. But these things want to be revved up a little. That's where they make their power. Engine makes power 2 ways, from the explosions pushing down and from the flywheels spinning, from the momentum of this engine turning. And so it's easier on it if you got it revved up a little bit higher, and it can use the spin rather than the big explosions pushing down on the bearings. So that's my experience with the 6-speed. Do I want to do it again? I don't know. Do I like it? Yes, I do. It's one of the things I really like about the mule. It's already in there, so that's all I can tell you. For reasons I'll get into later on in another video, I'm not going to probably keep killing myself trying to get a video out every Saturday. These things, for whatever reason, take me days to make. And so they interfere with a lot of other things I'm doing. I got to sit down, buckle down, and make these videos. And I'm going to keep making them, of course, and I'm going to still keep trying to get them out on Saturdays. So look for me there, but I'm probably going to just more do them at my leisure or at what's comfortable to make them at. Okay, I want to let you guys know, of course, that I'm leaving all my donate stuff down in the drop box below for anybody who wants to use it. That's really, and for you guys, I really appreciate that, because that's really how I'm getting my gas and my food these days, because this channel doesn't make me a whole lot of money. It's not all that big, and one of the things I do is I turn off the mid-roll commercials, right? Like I don't want to be interrupted with commercials when I'm watching something, and I don't want you guys to be interrupted either. I have to put them at the beginning and the end, otherwise they won't even spread me around. But I'd make more money if I put them in the whole thing, but I'm never going to sell out, man. My email, like all YouTubers, fills up with these solicitations from guys who want to hawk their stuff on my channels. Maybe they're selling a motorcycle stereo or whatever. I've had them want me to sell children's paints on my channel. Anyways, but I never take any of those, man. I'm never going to sell out for the money. And fortunately, my life doesn't cost a whole lot. I'm pretty economical here, right? This is my living of conditions here, right? Which as we all know, I really like it that way. So I just want to let you guys know that donate stuff's down there, and for those who do use it, thank you. And for those who don't, no sweat, man. Don't sweat. I'll always get by one way or another. And also, I have a link to my book that's for sale. Now, the book's a spiritual book, but it's not a flowery book, man. And it's gotten really good reviews. Now, in this age, with all this crazy shit going on, I found it harder to hold close to spirituality for those of you who do any kind of spiritual work or, keep something going that way. I personally have found it harder with what's going on. I was just talking to my mother. She's having trouble too with that. But I've also found it to be more important. So the link is there, and the whole thing's told in story, so it's not boring as fuck. And if you hit the link and go over and look at the reviews, it'll also tell you what it's about. So that's there for anybody who, you can go check it out for nothing. Just hit that link and go look. And what else? Oh, We're going to have the Gypsy Gene Cancer Rally again mid-May. And I just got the new flyer on it they sent me, and I'll leave it at the end of this video. And it's going to be a weekend. I think it's a camp out thing, but the town's close. You can get rooms there in that little town. So we're supposed to have a bigger turnout. There's different clubs who said that they're going to be coming and supporting us. The CMA, some different guys. And so hope that's going to be happening in May. So I got to let you know that that's going on. And with all of that, you guys, you know, I'll see you on the next video.